Now, hello everyone. Good evening and welcome. Let me see who I have in here. Melissa, Sylvia, Moses, Jaya, Shirley, and Karen. Good evening, all. You're all logging on very promptly. Somebody else has just joined us, but I can't see who it is just yet. Oh, Charlotte, Angelique. I have to say, you are so good with your time, all of you. You really are prompt. And Stephen there. Hi, Pilar. Nice to have you back. Okay, I think most of you are here actually. Now, let's just check before we do anything else. Let's just make sure that you can hear me. Um, Thank you all. Wish I'm feeling better. I am. Thank you. So, yeah, just type in that you can hear me, please. You can hear my dulcet tones over the airwaves. Perfect. 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 Okay. This is going to be a short webinar, very short actually, because I've put the videos already up for this. I've just been doing some work on this membership site now, and I don't know what. I'm hoping that you'll be able to log on as soon as we finish here. For some reason, I was just on there a few minutes ago, and it's not showing me this page. Um, I had somebody working on it today, and they came back to me at 5 o'clock and just said, "Oh, I did all this work on it, saved everything, and it hasn't saved all the changes." So they redid it, and it was fine. And I just went on and just did a little bit of formatting, and for some reason it wouldn't show me the page, so I'm going to go and have a look at it afterwards. So if you can't log on afterwards, it'll be something that's rectified either tonight or first thing tomorrow. The membership site is amazing. Thanks. Oh, thank you so much for that, Moses. Thank you. um, So perfect. Look, I really have done some videos on this, so I really want you to be able to get access to them. So I'm fingers crossed that you will get access to them tonight. I tell you what, when we finish up this webinar, log on, give it a half an hour. Log on. If you can't get onto it, send me a message. Send me an email, and what I will do is I'll email you the direct links to the videos. So, if you want to spend some time going through it this evening, at least you can do that, because I know if you've set aside some time, it's frustrating if you can't get done what you planned. I always get frustrated anyway if I set aside time to do something and it doesn't work the way I want. So, a couple of things I want to say to you. First of all, I do apologize for last week. I was behind with everything. I hate saying, oh, I'm conscious that sometimes I say, these will be up on the membership site tomorrow, and it takes an extra day or so. I always have a habit of biting off more than I can chew. Um, my husband will always get cross with me. He says, "You have no concept of time. You just are in another world." And I said, "Well, yes, but if I really, really realized how much time everything would take, I wouldn't sign up for half the things that I do." So the part of me realizes that, but at the same time, that makes me put pressure on myself to get things done. But I do apologize if you're waiting for something; it can be annoying. And last week, I just had chronic back pain. I was in absolute agony for the whole week, even through the weekend. I managed to get some stuff done at the weekend, and I am much, much better now. But I was not a nice person last week, and I just couldn't get anything done. So I'm playing catch up now. So just to bring you up to date, if there is assignments that are there to be graded, I will make sure that they're done by tomorrow. I don't think there's too many. Shirley, you did send me a message saying that you had something there, and I apologize. I just have literally been playing catch up the last couple of days. So I'll make sure that assignments are graded by tomorrow. All projects that have been submitted so far have gone through their first grading. So you should be able to have your grades back for them next week. So those of you that still have projects to complete, get them done as quickly as you can now, okay? Because I'm just going to get worried about you if you start falling behind. But other than that, those of you who have submitted your projects to date, you will have your grades by next week, okay? And one last thing, I had to write down all my little notes just to make sure I remembered everything, is again, Facebook. I did say last week that I would put something up on Facebook, but again, it was literally because I was just completely out of action. So I will do that by tomorrow. Um, again, I'm not used to using Facebook at all, but I just think it will be a good thing, and it does mean that we can post images and share things like that. So I didn't forget. Um, I just didn't get the time because I fell so behind, but I will make sure that I put some things up there tomorrow. And it's a private group, so nobody else will see. And yeah, I think it would be good for us. It'd be a good way of really interacting as well. So that is that. And we are going to go on to curtains and window treatments. And let me just ask you, I'm not expecting any of you to say yes, by the way. In fact, I'm hoping that you'll all say no. Has anybody yet started the assignment for this? Assignment number 14 for curtains and window treatments. Has anybody started it or even looked at it? I'm just, while you're answering that question, I'm going to read here. Shirley says, I've still lesson 11 to be uploaded. Emailed you couldn't upload. Just confirming. Okay, that's fine, Shirley. Thank you. That's fine. So Moses is saying nope. And as I said, I didn't expect any of you to. That's fine. Stephen, I know. Sylvia. Okay, good. Good. I'm actually glad that you haven't. And the reason is because I just updated this. I've just updated this assignment today because, again, as I'm going through this with all of you guys, I just realized there's one or two things, there's a little tweak here, a little tweak there. You're always changing things and they can make things a little bit better. And this assignment is not as creative as it could be. So it is now. I've changed it today. So I will put it up on the membership site and I will email it to you after we finish this call. But it's going to be different, obviously, to the one on OLS. But the last couple have been slightly different, which you know as well. So hopefully that will be fine. So perfect. Wherever you are, just keep your head down and just keep going as much as you can. And Jaya is going to be smiling her way through this lesson number 14, by the way. If any of you don't know, Jaya runs a curtain and soft furnishing company. So I expect her to be our resident expert on this. So if you do need some tips and advice, there you go. You can always share resources. So I hope I didn't land you in it there, Jay, and that you don't curse me for saying this to you. But yeah. So look, I'm just going to go over the introduction to this lesson, really, and because I haven't made the introduction video, so that's really what I'm just going to cover in this. And yeah, let's get started. And I chose my nice little drape transition for my PowerPoint. I thought that was just very appropriate. And let me just cover basically what you're going to find in the videos. A lot of designers don't talk about ready-made curtains. In fact, for most of them, it's like a swear word almost. I'm sure Jaya will confirm that as well. But to be honest with you, I think they're fantastic. Now, they have their place. You cannot beat made-to-measure tailored curtains. You simply can't beat them. They make such a difference in the way that they hang. You know, it's like wearing a tailored suit. They really look fantastic. And you can, you know, but they are also very, very expensive. They cost a lot of money because the fabric is all paid for by the meter. And then there's a lot of labor in making them up. And then even the tracks and poles to hang them are expensive. And if you're going to do them, you cannot do them on the cheap because, in all honesty, you know, the tracks and the poles and all of those things are just as important as the actual curtains themselves. And if you're doing a bay window or a bow window, you know, a curtain track will usually, certainly in the UK here, will cost about £500 just for the curtain track. Nothing, you know, that's before you even get to your curtains. And most people, in all honesty, get an awful fright. When they see their first quotation for curtains, it's much, much bigger than they think. And, you know, they're just simply unaware of the costs involved. So what I have found in the past is that, you know, if I've got a healthy budget, it's not going to be a problem. But there are times when, in fact, most times you end up juggling. And what I would very often do is I would use good quality ready-made curtains, because there is a difference in the qualities, and I explain that in the videos. But I would very often use good quality ready-made curtains in rooms that don't get as much attention, like maybe say spare bedrooms, that type of thing. And then what I would also do is, because you can save, a huge amount of money that way. And then also very often you can buy a pair of ready-made curtains, and the amount of fabric in them, you couldn't even buy the fabric alone for that. So very often I'll buy, say, 2 pairs of ready-made curtains, and I'll have one of the pairs used to create a top treatment, and then also maybe to do some trimmings, like maybe something, some cushions or bedding or whatever else as well. Not so it's OTT, just so it's kind of ties in and coordinates that little bit. And so personally, I think they can be a great friend to designers. And a lot of designers say no, 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 but I actually have always found them to be really useful for this purpose. And then the other thing about it is there will be times when you are working on low budgets, and you may, for example, be doing a home staging project. And if you are, the whole purpose is to help them to sell the house as quickly as possible for the most profit, while spending as little as possible. So it doesn't make sense to get something like that. But if they, but window treatments will make a big difference. So therefore, ready-mades can really come into their own there. So Moses is laughing at Jay's messages here. You're on a roll. And Jay is very right. She says here that curtains are always last on the budget. Yes. Well, generally speaking, they are. However, for you, my darlings, as interior designers, they won't be, because by the time you get to the end of this course, you're going to know how to spare your budget and to spend it wisely, so that you always have enough money for the important things. But we'll get to that later. We've still got plenty to go for. And the one other thing that Jacob says in here as well is that curtains can be very tricky and they need skilled workers. And I absolutely second that. Maria versus Chair. Moses, you're a scream. So what I would like you to do, when you get a chance to look at the videos afterwards and you get a chance to go through the assignment, is I would like you to visit a supplier or a showroom that's in your vicinity, somewhere in your region. And the reason why is, see what's on offer there. Because I talk about in the videos different ways of adding details to your curtains. You can vary the edges. You can vary the body of the curtain. You can add contrast banding. There's a million and one things you can do. But the options available to you are going to depend on the workers that you have available. And some suppliers will do this and some won't. An awful lot of showrooms, like, interior design stores and decor stores, will just offer the run-of-the-mill finishes. Like, you'll have a choice of a couple of different curtain headings and, a few different top treatments. But you will find some that will do this, and it's worth, putting together a few ideas and bringing them in and seeing what's available to you, so you know that when the time comes, what you have to choose from, and also getting a quotation. So you're going to actually design the window treatments for your 2-bedroom apartment now, which you have previously done. And I think it would be a really good experience for you to bring, design the window treatments exactly how you want them, bring them in and get quotations. Because again, all of these things are going to be important to you going forward, and it will really help to see, help you to see where a chunk of your budget is going to go, and therefore where you can cut costs, and even to see firsthand the difference between different materials, different types of lining, why one costs so much more than another, etc. So I think that will be really, really valuable for you. So the only thing that I'm going to cover here and now is basically about the kind of priorities when you are designing curtains, because this is the one thing I haven't done yet. As I said, I just need to do this kind of intro video, and it really is about what is the function of the curtain, because they make a big difference to an interior. They finish it off perfectly. Jay says someone can even leave the work midway. I can tell you now, I started in curtains and soft furnishings. Actually, what happened, how I got into interior design is when I got married and I bought my first home. And I inherited a sewing machine from my mother that I never saw her use, ever. In our entire life. Now, she did make a dress for me, apparently, when I was about 4 years old. But I think that was the only time it was ever used. And I went to get curtains for my new home, and I nearly dropped dead when I heard the price. And I just thought, oh my goodness, and really didn't have the money because I had just got married. I had my first mortgage, all of those kind of things. So just to clarify here, when we're talking about curtains, we're talking about curtains and window treatments. Okay. And I know that in the US you call them drapes. So we're curtains and drapes. I put them all in the same category. And even when it comes to, I would differentiate by saying top treatments, but for me, curtains, window treatments, they're all the same thing. So I'm kind of using that general broad term. So anyway, the reason why I ended up getting into curtains and soft furnishings and is because they were just too expensive for me. So I thought, how hard could it be to make these? It's just a straight line. And I bought the fabric and I took it home and I made my first pair of curtains. And I remember when I was cutting the fabric on the kitchen table and my husband was there chewing his nails saying, oh my God, Maria, don't make a mess, because we were on such a tight budget. We really didn't have any money. And he was just thinking, you're going to make a mess of it and you're going to waste this money. But I didn't. I was very proud. They looked really lovely and I hung them with pride. And basically, that started the ball rolling for me. I had always been interested in interior design, but it was really that which got me started, because then people started asking me to do things for them. My family members, friends, oh, can you do something for me? And then I got involved in curtains and soft furnishings. And what I ended up doing was offering a mobile curtain service. And I actually hired people. I had a workshop with, it didn't happen straight away. This happened over a period of time. But I had a workshop and I had people making curtains for me. And I would go around, I had a van with all my curtain samples, and I would go around to people's houses and help them to choose curtains and window treatments, etc. And then it just spiraled into interior design. I just got the bug, got the passion, and decided I wanted to go to learn more. I signed up for a college course and that was it. The rest is history. So again, this has kind of led me into my area of interior design, and a lot of people have come into it this way as well. And I also think later on in the course, when we talk about, actually very soon, we're going to talk about, getting yourself into the industry. And this is one way that you can get into the industry. But I'll talk to you about that afterwards when we get to that lesson, which is very soon. It may even be the next one. And when we do, I'll tell you why I think it's a good way to get into it, okay? So the first thing is to think about the functional, because they are not just decorative, they are functional. Sometimes you want curtains for to enable people to sleep during the day, whether it be children or whether it be a hotel that has visitors and they need people to sleep during the day. Sometimes they're only going to be dress curtains just purely for decoration, but sometimes they'll be for privacy. And I don't know. Such a cool story. Thank you. Shirley says, we're talking about balances, anything with fabric. What about fabric shades? Okay. What I'm going to say is, okay. Do you know what? This is a good question, because this is the difference actually when we're live and interacting with each other, because I haven't actually heard this question before. And I always think that I'm being quite clear, but obviously I'm not. I'm getting a little bit using my lingo here. In this lesson and in the next one, we're only going to talk about curtains and window treatments. We are not going to cover blinds at all. Okay. And the only reason we're not covering blinds is because there's just too much. Curtains is actually, curtains and window treatments is a course that we do in itself. We would run a certificate course just in that. And anybody who does work with curtains and window treatments will tell you it's a minefield. Now, I'm not saying that to put you off, because what we're giving you here is the most important stuff, for you as an interior designer. And trust me, there's a lot of it. When you go through the videos, you'll see there is a lot of it. So again, better to take this, learn it well. Blinds are pretty straightforward. And to be honest with you, you get a company to go in and fit them. I know there's a few things you can do with them, but really what I want you to do in this lesson is be able to learn about window treatments. So you're going to learn about the curtains, valances, pelmets, swags and tails, all of those things. And then we have one more lesson which is just focusing on soft furnishings. And that will cover things like bed treatments, things like tablecloths, napkins, upholstery, cushions, all of those types of things. So Stephen is saying you should just call it window treatments. That covers anything that goes on the window. Well, do you know what, Stephen? You are so right, and I bow to your wisdom. So I apologize. And is it confusing because you're in the States? Does the term curtains, have a different meaning for you? Do you think of something different? I'm just curious. So, okay, I'm getting off track here, which I have a tendency to do, as we know. Let's get back to this. The most important thing I want you to think about again is when you are designing window treatments, first of all, what's the priority? What's the functional, the requirements that's needed? Is it privacy? Is it those things? Because it has to meet those requirements, obviously. And Stephen says, no, window treatments is anything that goes on a window. Okay, well, do you know what? I'm going to rename this lesson afterwards. Renaming a lesson is actually quite a pain in the neck, believe it or not. It seems like such a simple thing, but it has to go through this whole bloody process because of all the document codes and references and all the rest kind of thing. But anyway, I'm going to make sure that that is renamed. We will have no more confusion going forward. And the reason I suppose we did call it curtains and window treatments is because we don't cover blinds and shutters and shades and all of that in here. It really is to do with fabric window treatments. So anyway, I've made my little note there. So obviously the function thing, but another big thing when you're coming to design window treatments is also the size and shape of the window, because that is going to determine how you can hang things on it, how you can fit things on it. So if you look at a window like this, even if you wanted to put a curtain track, you've got a very limited space. So if you wanted to put, drapes or curtains, how are they going to open? You've got some limitations. Now, there's always ways around things, but you always need to take this account. And what I would say to you is that when you are designing window treatments, the first thing to do is measure up the windows, obviously, open them in, do they open in? Do they open out? I know it sounds obvious, but also see how they swing. Is there enough room on either side for the curtain track to go? How are you going to deal with that space? And then the other thing about it is sometimes you want to, you need obviously privacy, and you may need to be able to close the curtains, for want of a better description, at night, but you don't want to block something like this beautiful view here. I mean, this is a beautifully shaped window here. It's a feature in itself. So you don't want something that's going to block that. That's one thing. And then the other thing is here, if you notice on this window here, look, there is no headroom. We call this the headroom, the room just above the window frame. There's no headroom to actually install a curtain track. So if we wanted to fit a curtain track, you can fix it to the wall here. You can fix it to the wall here, and you can fix it to the wall here, but there's no space in the middle to fix it to the wall, and it needs to be supported. Now, you could fix it into the ceiling, but there's also limitations on that, because if you imagine, if you have a very heavy pair of curtains or a very, very heavy pair of drapes, if they are hanging from something that's fitted into the ceiling, they're pulling straight down on this vertically. And you can't have something that heavy, so it will limit what you can install. So they seem like relatively small things, but it makes a big difference. And don't forget, because these are so expensive, you simply can't afford to get them wrong. So I would always recommend, when you are starting off, and for quite a while when you're starting off, find a really good, reputable curtain maker or curtain showroom and use them. And you'll discover, as you do a few different jobs, you'll start to learn more and more. And eventually you might find, most interior designers end up working with directly with a curtain maker. And the reason is that because you can get to really bespoke things then. If you're doing something run of the mill and something very ordinary, which you will do sometimes, you can pretty much go anywhere. But if you're doing, something different, you want someone who really has a high level of skill. And those resources take time to build up. It takes time to find those people. But also, at that point, usually you'll have a curtain maker and then you'll have somebody else to fit your curtains. And you need to know the way everything is coordinated together. If you don't do one part of it properly, it can just be a total mess. And when you're starting off, you don't want that. This can be a minefield. So that's not to put you off, but it's just to say to you in the beginning, make sure that, you'll learn by the time you get through this lesson how to, create, bespoke treatments and how to add your own details. But find one good supplier, deal with them, and then as you get experience and you start to learn more, that's when you can actually start to venture off. And possibly even then, going forward, we will talk about dealing directly with showrooms and buying fabrics at trade prices and things like that. There are ways that you can do these things and make some additional income, but I would not recommend it starting off. Okay, I really, really say that to you wholeheartedly. I would not recommend it starting off, just because of the problems that can come along with it. So this is my recommendation. Find someone good. And again, use this assignment to go and get a quotation in your area. And, it'll just help you to become familiar and also to see what is available to you. So Jay is saying specialist tracks can support heavy curtains. You can do absolutely anything. I always say to people, you can do anything as long as you have the time and the money. Because sometimes to get something very bespoke, a very bespoke product or something that's quite specialist, there's a long lead time. You may have to order it from a company, or it may be made to order or something like that. And then sometimes these things just cost an awful lot more than you've anticipated. So, you can do absolutely anything with a building as long as you have the time and the money. But usually those things are not unlimited, and that's what tends to be the restriction. So, a couple of questions when you are designing your curtains, and these are fairly straightforward. I will put this up on the membership site as a checklist. I'm not sure if it's in the lesson. I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. So again, just these questions. Does the window treatment need to be functional or merely decorative? Would a simple curtain or a more elaborate treatment be best? Which will suit the room style? Should the curtains be hung from a pole or track? Because that's going to determine the type of heading. What's the size and shape of the window? And that ties into the next one, like, are there any nearby structures or obstacles? What way does the window open? We said. Should the curtains be combined with a sheer curtain or a blind of some sort? Again, is privacy an issue during the day? So when the window treatment itself, or the main window treatment, is open, is privacy going to be a concern? And finally, then, how long should the curtains be? Generally speaking, kind of certainly in interior design, like 90% of the time you'll use full length curtains, because again, they really dress a window. But there will be times when it's not appropriate. And one of the big problems with that as well, particularly where I live, because I'm in the UK, it's a cold climate, is that we have our radiators under the window, and very often it blocks the heat, which is a bit of a pain. But anyway, there's always ways around. So the next one, oh, Well, that is my questions. That is my list of questions. I thought I had more. I thought I had 2 slides, but no, I've actually got the same slide down twice. Um, so yeah, so as I said, it's very, very short and sweet tonight. So while I have you here, has anybody got any questions? Anything you would like to ask me? And yeah, that's it. That's it, really. I'm going to let you go after this. And as I said, give yourself half an hour. Just give half an hour. I'm going to go back onto that site and just see what I can do. Give yourself half an hour before you log onto it. If you cannot get onto page 14, please just send me an email. If one of you sends me an email, I know to send to all of you the direct links to those videos so that you can work on them this evening. And I'll have to get someone to look at it tomorrow and fix it, whatever it is. I don't know, technology. Technology is the bane of my life at the moment. So how are you doing? Any questions, everybody? Or are you all feeling happy and content? You've gone very quiet. Stephen says you need to find a person to hang them. But here in the States, most places that you purchase them have their own people who hang them. Yes, it's the same in most people. Okay, a couple of questions. Good. Okay, so Stephen has said, asked a question here saying, you know, you need to find a person to hang them. Most places where you purchase treatments will have their own people to hang them. Yes, absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why I recommend that you deal with a curtain supplier as opposed to a curtain maker or a supplier or a curtain showroom, because what they will do is they will make and install the curtains for you. And if you don't have, now, you know, when you're experienced with curtains, you can have somebody make them. You can go to somebody and get you know, you might work with a curtain maker and you can get anything you want done. And then you might have your own curtain fitter. This, believe it or not, is a trade in itself. You know, there are people who just do curtain fitting and they get very well paid for it. Trust me, because there's a real knack to this. You know, they can earn just as much money as a plumber or anything else. It is quite specialist. So, but if you don't have a good curtain fitter, you can have the best made curtains in the world, and if they're fit and hung incorrectly, they can look dreadful. So, you know, and then if you've used separate people, the curtain fitter will blame the curtain maker and vice versa. There's all of these things. So that's why I say to you, it's a minefield. That's why I also say to you, you find a good supplier and deal with them, you know, at least for a good while. And as I said, as you go down the road there. So most of the places that you do deal with these showrooms will give you, they will supply and fit. And that's why you want them. There are going to be more limitations on what they will do. You might not be able to get someone to do a nice decorative edging for you, but it doesn't matter. You know, just work with it within the parameters that you have. So hopefully that answers that one. Moses is saying, for this assignment, must we make our own designs or can we use ready-made curtains? You must make your own designs, Moses. No ready-made curtains. How are we meant to put product codes for self-made curtains? Ha ha. Well, okay, very good question. Basically, what you will do is, if you design your curtains, here's the easiest way for you to do this, okay? If you design your curtains and you go to a curtain showroom or a curtain supplier and say to them, this is what I want to do, and pick out a fabric there, they will actually do you up a quotation. You can just bring in the window measurements and just say, this is exactly what I want to have made for a job. And they will give you a quotation there, and then you can pick out a couple of fabrics, and basically that quotation will show you exactly how you need to lay it out, because all you're going to do in your specification is really just include the product code, which is the fabric. So here's the fabric ABC with a sateen lining. The total cost of the curtains and installation is X. That's it. You don't need any more than that. And that's another reason why it's also good to deal with a curtain supplier, because they'll give you all of those things straight away. And just for your own sake, Ask them to break down the price for you. They should actually show you how much fabric is required and how much that costs, how much lining is required and how much that costs, how much your labor costs are, how much it's going to cost you for your curtain track or pole, and how much it's going to cost you for installation. Most reputable companies will do that. They will break things down for you and put that on your quotation. But if they don't, ask them. And the reason is because, again, you need to familiarize yourself with these costs so that when you are budgeting and you're doing, overall budgets or preliminary budgets for a job, if you've got an idea of how much things cost, you'll know ahead of time. Now, we'll do a tiny bit of budgeting in lesson 20. Okay, and I'm going to give you a template for budgeting, and this is my own template that I devised myself for my jobs, and I've used it for years. So it makes life really easy. So again, we will go into budgeting on lesson 20, but next year, later this year actually, in stage 2 of the HND, that's when we really get into detailed budgeting, because it is important. But again, we've got enough for this level. So Stephen's asking another good question there. And Jay, I'm just looking at all of these things. Right, Jay says the seams are extremely important curtains. Only skilled workers can achieve the best end results. I totally agree. And again, when you look at the videos, even something like that, it shows you the difference even between ready-mades. The difference between a good quality ready-made and a poor quality ready-made is very often that the seams won't match up. They need to be matched very meticulously. And again, this is one of the things that makes a difference, that they look completely tailored. Stephen said, are you transparent with your clients about the price? Do you mark it up and then present the price to them? We'll talk about pricing. Again, we'll get to it on lesson 20. What I would do is I would if I'm dealing with residential clients, I will give them the price that they would pay in the store if they went there themselves. So if I buy directly from a store, whatever the price is, that's the price. Okay, if I'm buying whatever it is, furnishings, accessories, blah blah blah, whatever the price is, that's what I put to them, and because I am charging them for my design time. However, if I use my own curtain maker and my own curtain fitter, and I buy the fabric wholesale, etc., I will charge them the price that they would pay if they went to the store. And then I can make that difference. And I need to, because to be honest with you, there's more work in it for me, because I have to coordinate all of those things, go and get the fabric and all of those things. But also there's a lot of controversy about this, by the way, within the industry. Some people say that, oh, you shouldn't do this, that you should pass on all savings to your clients. But I think that my experience over the years has been that with residential clients in particular, they need quite a bit of hand-holding. Now, I say I love working with residential clients. It's really personal, and it's really lovely to help someone to achieve their dream home. It's fantastic if you take the time to really get inside their head, and then you can interpret that. It's lovely. I can't tell you just how many bunches of flowers I've had over the years and things like that. It really is. It's lovely. It's very personal because you're dealing with their home and their personal space. However, there's a lot of extra hand-holding. When you're dealing with a commercial client, they're not as personally attached to it. So there is that bit of extra work involved. Very often you have to meet them in the evenings and the weekends because they're involved in work, so you've got all of these extra things. So when you can make that little bit of extra money because you can buy things wholesale yourself, it's important, because basically I think it ends up covering you for those additional times that you spend. That's what I do. There is controversy. Some people say that you should always pass on the discount to your client. I disagree. I really do. But I would never mark up. I do know some people who will deliberately mark up. They'll instantly add on 10% or even 20%. Even if they're buying things in stores, they'll just add on 20% to the total cost. because they just say no, that's my extra. And then also a lot of designers will deal with suppliers, and they'll get their suppliers to include maybe 10% for them, or 20, whatever is applicable. I don't do that. And the other thing I do as well is I just, it might sound like, oh yeah, but I would never ever ever buy something because I'm going to get a markup. I always, 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 hands down, choose what is best for the job. So, and I think ultimately that's the most important, because the most important thing that you have on any job is your reputation and doing the best job for your client. And the other thing I can tell you now, hands down, every single job I leave, I don't care how much it is, whether it's been a small budget or an extremely large budget, I know that there is no way that my client would possibly have been able to achieve the same results working with the budget that I have. And I've worked with massive budgets. Trust me, I've worked with massive budgets, but you're still always juggling, because even with massive budgets, you have massive costs, and there's always something that is unforeseen. And, you're always kind of trying to juggle those things around. So I can say hands down that none of my clients would ever have been able to achieve the end result that I have within the same budget that I have. And that's why I really don't have any qualms as well about, charging them the difference between wholesale and retail. I think that's perfectly fair and reasonable. Yeah, Jay has made a comment here. They'll always end up negotiating better markup and then negotiate to a certain extent. But we will get into this a little bit in lesson 20. Okay, we'll talk about pricing and budgeting then. Again, we're just going to touch over it, just enough to kind of get you started at that point. And we'll go into this a lot more, in a lot more detail and depth in stage 2. Okay, Shirley, I'm going to answer your question at the end, because it's just very specifically about one assignment there. Actually, hold on a second. Just to confirm, on lesson 13, there are a total of 5 mood boards to do on the assignment. And Moses is saying, I think it's 4 mood boards or sketches for part 1 and 1 for part 2. Yes. Now, I don't have the assignment in front of me, but let me just say, in fact, I can open it now while I'm talking to you. Let me just get it up here. If I remember correctly, I'm opening the assignment here when I'm speaking to you. Okay, 13, demonstrate how color can be used to achieve each of the following effects. Visually enlarge room interior, make a room seem cozier, more intimate, create emphasis, or play down. Now, you can do whatever you want. I would actually recommend that you do some kind of a tip sheet. You know the way that you've been doing tip sheets for your assignments, like in flooring and wall finishes, things like that. I've recommended in the past. Let me go back here and make sure I can see you. I've recommended in the past that you present your work as if you were giving a tip sheet, something that you could give to a client. I'd recommend you do something like this as well. Okay, it's just really nice. And if you can find images, or if you need to do them yourself, fine. If any of you have good editing skills, if you're particularly good with Photoshop, or or Olio board, you can use Olio board for this as well. But when you go through those videos, I'm sure most of you have had the chance to go through them at this point. It shows you, look at the difference between, I think there's one room on there where you see a room. It uses the same color scheme. It's kind of like pink and green, and that's actually one of the student. That's an example of student work. So they've shown how the same color scheme can change the impact depending on where you apply it even. So, do whatever you want. You don't have to create a mood concept board, even though it says that. Remember, look, what is it really asking you to do? It's asking you to really communicate this more than anything else. So, once you communicate these things, and I think tip sheets can be a really good way to do that. Plus, it means that you've got something that you can use in the future with your clients as well. So for part 2, yes, you do need to do a mood board, because basically you're going to find something that you consider to be unattractive. And I would go one further than that. Find something that you think is downright ugly. Okay, I tell you, it's so much more fun and so much more satisfying when you do that. Find, if you are going to your curtain store or your curtain showroom, find the ugliest piece of fabric that you can possibly find, and then use that as the center for your design. And it's just such a fun project to do. It really is. So Pilar has asked, can you recommend a book to learn more about space and color? Yeah, leave it with me. Leave it with me. Now, I have my own book, but it's actually just out of print. Now, I did get back the rights from the publisher, and I'm going to re-release it, but I just haven't had the time to get around to it. So just haven't had the time to get around to it. Leave it with me. I'll come back and I'll email you all by the weekend. If there's something I can do, possibly, if I had a PDF format of my book, I'd send it to you. But I'll put together a few things that I have, a couple of lists, and see what I can do. And meanwhile, I can tell you now, the best way that you can learn with color, apart from any book, okay, is honestly do this experimentation. And what I would say to you is the same way that you're doing your rendering, you're going to be doing bits and pieces as you go along, little and often. Also do the same with color. So I would, this is the best exercise you can do. Find things that you think are unattractive. Find color schemes that you think are, don't work, or why, and start to evaluate them, pick them apart. Why don't they work? Put these in your own little scrapbook, put these in your notes. And again, at the end of the course, you can submit these as part of your design journal. It'll be really nice to show your progression and how you've learned these things. But this is going to teach you more than anything else, because in all honesty, it is literally just a matter of training your eye in exactly the same way that you learned about style. What are all of those elements of design? What are all those individual components? What is it that makes something work or doesn't work? The best way to learn is through trial and error, but it doesn't have to be your own trial and error. You can learn from other people's. And honestly, you just need to start looking and saying, why does this work? And why does this not work? And that's going to be the key to you being successful more than anything else. I can, hands down, above any book and anything else. There is no magic formula for this. But what I will say to you is, I used to, when I published my book in particular, I got a really strong reputation for color. And I always said I'd love to do. Have you ever seen this TV show called Faking It? Where basically they take someone from a completely, not just unrelated industry, but something like that's almost the opposite, and they train them to be, within a month, to be something. So one time they took this guy who was a sheep shearer. He was a farm guy, a farmhand, and he was Irish actually, from the middle of the country, and he used to shear sheep, and they trained him to be a hairdresser. And they trained him within a month, and what they do is they put them in for a competition, and then these professionals have to spot who is the imposter. And I always thought I'd love to do that, and I'd love to be able to take someone, maybe say he was a demolition expert or someone who demolished houses, and I could train them to be an interior designer in a month. I thought I'd love to do something like that. And color is a really key thing. Again, if you just really practice and apply yourself like this, you can make a big difference. And I'm getting sidetracked here, but I wanted to do, I've always said there's no such thing as a bad color. You can make any color look good. And that used to be a kind of challenge as well. I would say, I don't care what you have, where you are, if you've got something ugly. I did quite a stint on TV when I was living in Ireland. I was the resident designer for 6 months on one of the TV channels there, which was very nice at the time. But again, I would say, give me anything. Give me your ugly room, something that you have to live with, and I'll make it look good. And it was really fun. So I had somebody had this avocado green bathroom suite, and again, they couldn't afford to change it. So I designed everything around it and made it look good. And it's just those kind of things. But it was good for me as well, because that was one of the things that actually helped me to get publicity and to kind of really promote myself at the time. So I know Pilar is saying sometimes you don't know the answer. I know you don't know the answer, but the quality of your answer depends on the quality of your question. And you just have to start exploring these things. And also, this is why I want us to be able to start using Facebook, so that we can put these things up online, and you can all start to comment, and you'll learn as much from each other. So I promise you, I will make sure that I'm up there on Facebook by tomorrow, and I'll put up a couple of those images that I showed you last week that were really ugly, and you can see and discuss amongst yourselves how you are going to improve them and make them beautiful. Okay, so one question here. Charlotte, thank you. Actually, do you know what? I am terrible. I am the worst person in the world for doing before and afters. I tell all my students, I always have done, to make sure you take before and afters. Make sure you take before and afters. And I'm the pits. I don't do it. And I even did my my last house there. I had a house, and I actually moved to an apartment. So I really totally and absolutely completely renovated my house, and it was lovely. And again, like it was. It sold like a hotcake, and everyone was saying, "Oh my God, magnificent!" And I never took one picture of it. I'm terrible, absolutely terrible. But if I might find a couple of things. If I do, I'll dig them up and I'll put them up there. No, I haven't been onto Facebook yet. I will. I'll do it by tomorrow. And one last question here. Shirley's asking, what are tip sheets? Example. I would say to you, Shirley, go and have a look at lesson number 6. Actually, no, don't. I'll tell you what, I'll email you afterwards. I'll email you an example, okay? Because I'm just trying to think where's the easiest way for you to find it. There's quite a lot of stuff on that page on lesson number 6. Leave it with me, and I'll send something to you just to give you an example, okay? Right, so my lovelies, that is it. I'm going to love you and leave you. And I'm going to go and have my dinner first, and then I will come back and finish off that little thing on the website. So I will be very quick with my dinner, let me tell you. So please do just give it half an hour. If you've problems, email me, and I'll make sure that I send you the links tonight. And if there are issues, I'll get it rectified by tomorrow. Okay, send tip sheets to me, Stephen. I will. Okay, so my lovelies, that's it. I shall leave you and let you get on. In the instance where you do all the work yourself, what percentage do you end up making? Melissa said to everyone, Pilar to me as well. Okay, right, tip sheets. I'm just going to write down my little list here, otherwise I will forget. Tip sheets 1. Percentage, what do you want to do? Angelique, I'm not evading you. I will answer that when we get to lesson number 20, because there's a lot to pricing, okay? And a percentage of what? Percentage of the net price, the gross price. There's a lot. It's not a straightforward answer. So I'm not avoiding you. I will make sure that we cover this on lesson number 20. So have a lovely evening, everyone. I shall enjoy my dinner. Thank you very much. And somebody else asked a question. Oh, Angelique was just saying, look, I'm behind. Don't worry about it. Just do your best to catch up as much as you can, okay? I'm not here to beat a stick over you. I think you have you probably have enough of that yourself, but just do the very best you can to get up as much as you can. Okay, so listen, thank you everyone. Have a great evening, and we will talk again next week. And meanwhile, if you have any issues at all, just give me a quick email. Take care. Bye.